Hey, hey, hey! Welcome guys to my video. My name is Mr. Mo and I'm very happy to see all of you here. Okay, because today we're going to learn something about language, but it's not going to be grammar or adjectives or anything like that. We're going to learn about where language comes from, specifically English language, okay? But before that guys, I'm going to need all of you to stand up with me please, because we're going to do an exercise that will help us start our brains and get it on, okay? You guys ready? Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to move our hands, okay? But in a specific form. We're going to spell the word Lila with our hands. And how are we going to do that? Well, our left hand is always going to be able to go up or to go down, okay? Because we're going to make some letters. On the other hand, the right one is only going to be able to go to the side and down, okay? So we're going to make the word Lila. We start with letter L, I, L, A. Okay? Let's try that. Letter L, letter I, letter L, letter A. Now we're going to do it a little bit faster. Let's see how you guys do it, okay? L, I, L, A, L, I, L, A, L, I, L, A, L, I, L, A, L, I, L, A. Excellent. And we're going to do one more, okay? This one specifically with our fingers, all right? So we're going to point to an OK symbol and switch at a count of 3, okay? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's pick it up. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Ah! And everyone is going crazy now. Excellent. So let me ask you guys something. How much do you know about English? Okay? Now, languages come from many parts of the world, and they're influenced in turn by other languages. Okay? So some of you might speak German or Spanish or French or Italian or Russian, wherever you guys are, it's very likely that your language has been around for many centuries, maybe even millennia. And it's also very likely that your language is influenced by other languages. Now, today we're going to learn about the English language, okay? So let's go over here, my computer, so you guys can see. Alrighty, so now these are the two countries that we mostly relate the English language to, the United States and the United Kingdom. But there are many other English-speaking countries. For example, Australia, for example, New Zealand. In Jamaica, it's also a very spoken language, and it's, well, basically spoken all over the world. However, the English language didn't necessarily come from these countries. Maybe it was developed there, but it took influences from other languages. Let me show you guys this interesting chart. This represents how the English language was formed, okay? As you guys can see, it has a 29% of Anglo-French influence. So it comes from the old French language that people many centuries ago used to speak. If you take a look at the green part, it has 26% of Germanic languages, like Old and Middle English, which are much different than the English we speak today, than modern English. Okay, we also see Latin languages, for example, well, Latin itself, the one that was spoken by the Romans, classic or vulgar Latin. It takes a lot of that from there. We also have some Greek influence, 6%, some other unknown languages, 6%, and of course, the proper names or proper words that come from the people that invented this language. As you can see, it's just a huge melting pot of influence from other places, some very far, some closer, but most of them, well, coming from Europe, right? From Western and Central Europe. So I want you guys to take a look at this, okay? Now, how did the English start? Well, Modern English is derived from all these languages, but Old and Middle English began to develop a long time ago. As you guys can see, Celtic people, they were a group of people that were initially located in Western Europe, some parts of what we know now as Germany, the northern part of France, and they moved to the British Isles, okay? England, Scotland, what we know now as Wales, part of Ireland. So the Celtic people, of course, spoke the Celtic languages. Now, it is only spoken in the British Isles and the French part of Brittany, or what was initially conquered by the Normans, for example, from Normandy. Okay? Now, something also very interesting is just how much influence German has. English in 500 AD was most similar to German, and today it takes its basic structure from this beautiful language. So, even though German and English are much different, if you guys open a book that is written in German, you might find a lot of similarities between some of the words and some of the structures. For example, something that they have in common is that proper nouns are written in capital letters. In the case of German, well, the rules also vary a little bit, but that's a common element. Okay? So German was fundamental to the development of the English language. I'm going to read an interesting story to you guys, okay? To someone learning English, the spelling of words such as light or through make little sense. Many letters are not pronounced. This is because the pronunciation has changed, but the spelling did not. In Old English, light was pronounced leet, with the H sound like the CH in Bach, so leek. In Middle English, the pronunciation didn't change a whole lot, although the spelling was somewhat altered. The GH in light used to denote the same CH sound as it did in Old English. There are lots of examples of this, as you can probably imagine. Everything was all messed up in Middle English once the Norman French conquered England, making English the language of the lower classes. So the middle and upper classes didn't speak English. They spoke Old French. A lot of the structure, spelling, and pronunciation that was left from Old English were lost during this period. There was no upper class speaking English, and preserving or teaching a standard, structure and pronunciation changed very quickly. So here we can see a little bit about the French influence. For example, April is an example of a Norman French word. And what do you guys think it means in English? It sounds very similar to April, the month, right? Excellent. So let me show you guys something here on my iPad, okay? Because we're going to do some reading about modern English now. So, modern English. A less direct impact that Latin has on modern English was the creation of rules and grammar. All these rules your teacher made and will make you learn in this course. Some of these rules would not apply to Old English, the Germanic language. In the late 18th century, scholars were concerned by the rapid changes that were occurring to English. Poets such as John Milton despaired of rapid pronunciation changes that might soon render the rhymes useless. Rapid changes in spelling, of course, didn't help either. What really worsened matters was the incredible variety of English dialects, from region to region. Pronunciation, speech patterns, spelling differed widely. Scholars despaired. The English language was on the brink of ruin. Something had to be done. At about this time, the French were also despairing at the ruin of their language. They formed groups and societies in an attempt to create a standard English. Okay? Scholars, poets, and philosophers worked together to create this standard English. It was based on London English, which was the most common dialect among the privileged or those who wished to be among the privileged. Many of the strange grammatical rules that English students have had to learn came out of this era. These rules are often stretched because often they owe a great deal to Latin, but not very much to English. So what do you guys think of that? That's very interesting. So many of the rules we have now, we owe them to the Latin language. Let me show you guys one more picture here on my computer. English, of course, started to receive great influence during the Renaissance period, especially because of travel how sometimes it was not very possible, so they had to develop their own words and dialects, but also the printing press, and that is how they were able to spread out the English language throughout all of Europe and eventually making it all the way to the Americas and other parts of the world. So guys, I'm really excited to get all this knowledge, well, shown off by your minds, but for that we're going to need to wait for the next video, okay? So I will see you guys in just a few minutes. Bye! Hey! Welcome back everyone. I'm very happy to see all of you. If you guys remember, on our last video, we took a look at the English language, specifically modern English. We took a look at how the language has been influenced greatly from other languages, not only the French one, but Latin, Greek, German. These are all languages that come from different families. So it's fascinating to see how everything connects together. We also saw that Old English and Middle English are very different from modern English, even though they have or they share the English name. There are many changes that have occurred to them over the years, so it's a good idea to know how sometimes we will speak a word in English. For example, maybe you guys have heard touche. It's something that many English speakers use, but many of them don't know that it comes from the French. So there are many small details like that that make it a fascinating topic. So now guys, it's time to show off our knowledge. For this, I'm going to need to ask you to download and print the page that you can access on this website, okay? That way we can begin to work. If you don't have it yet, don't worry, pause the video, take as long as you need. I will be right here, okay? Excellent. So I think we're all ready. So there are a couple of questions, guys, that I'm going to project here on my iPad that I want you to help me answer, okay? The first one is, what language was first spoken in Britain, or those British Isles, okay? We saw that in a part of the video. Where is it spoken now? Okay, there are places where it's still spoken. English in 500 AD was most similar to what? Do you guys remember what language that was? Now, what language is the basic structure of English form? Number 5, why was English not spoken by upper classes between 1068 and 1200 AD? Okay, give one example of an English word that comes from French Norman French. My bad. After the French left, name 3 influences of the development of the English language and explain their effects. Number 8, why was John Milton upset about how quickly English was changing during the Middle English period? He was very specific about that. What language are the rules of English grammar based on? And finally, when were these rules developed? So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to answer them, and then we'll go over the answers quickly, okay? Pause the video if you need, take your time. Alrighty, so let's go over the answers now. For question number 2, where is it spoken now? British Isles and French Brittany only. German was the language that English was very similar to in 500 AD, and it's also the same language from which English takes its basic structure. Now, between the periods of 1068 and 1200 AD, the upper classes only spoke Old French. And an example of an Old French or a Norman French word is April, which is the equivalent to the month April. The printing press, limited travel, and Renaissance were highly influential in the development of the English language. Now, John Milton was very worried about pronunciation changes. He was a poet, so he was worried that his rhymes might not be so rhymey anymore. And finally, for the unanswered question number 10, when were these rules developed? That would be in the 18th century. So that wasn't too far off, maybe about 300 years ago, possibly. So as you guys can see, there are many things that have influenced the English language. Not only other languages, but events that have transpired in themselves. For example, the Renaissance period, the travel, or the printing press. Okay? Well guys, I think it is almost time for me to go. But before I do that, let's go over to what we learned today, okay? We learned some of the history of the English language, where it evolved, where it comes from, and what has influenced it. We also learned how modern English is formed. And remember, guys, Old and Middle English are much different than modern English, okay? Now, what I would like to do is to encourage you guys to go ahead and look for the information from another language that you know, okay? Maybe if you're a native Spanish speaker or a German speaker or a Japanese speaker, why don't you go ahead and look online to see the origins of that language? That could be very, very interesting. Also, don't forget to save this page to show off to your teacher. And I want to thank you guys very much. My name was Mr. Mo, and I will see you in just a few minutes, okay? Catch you in my next video.
AMCO.
Happy to learn.